Thanks for staying with us. So last Friday, Yakubu Mayako was sworn in as the 31st president of the Nigerian Bar Association at the 62nd Annual General Conference of the association held in Lagos. Days before his swearing-in ceremony, the noble profession has been entangled in serious controversies, condemnations after some aggrieved lawyers who did not get their conference materials on the time stormed the registration center and looted the booths.
Yeah, so
They vandalized conference booths, stole phones, and even assaulted officials. Joining us to discuss the task before the new president of the NBA is a legal practitioner who has been practicing for 38 years.
wow.
Joining us is barrister Ojo Williams. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning.
Good to have you, sir.
Good morning.
So as I said before, Nima did everything to stop us from taking this lawyers' vandalism story.
This show of
legal profession, no profession. Leonard colleagues said no problem. But we now say, okay, so this new president is an opportunity to choke in this answer. So this new president now, they call him YK. Is it YK or MK? You know, the
Yakubu.
Yakubu, yes, YK actually. They call him YK. He has a huge task ahead because recently we're talking about the controversy that happened with Olanipe Ekunwe in his office, what happened that one of his lawyers had to step aside. Recently, I think Justice Taiwo was able to convicted someone to pay 4 million naira for collecting bribe. Another judge recently jailed a lawyer for a month. All sorts of, and then they now talk to that Capitol up. They had a conference where your people now vandalize and loot. And I think is this the same noble position that even my own father, yes, I can say my father, was part of? Is this still a noble profession at this point? And what's the huge task ahead for this new president? What must he do to regain the respect of this profession?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. As a member of the Bar Association myself, I was shocked to see what happened at the last Bar conference. And inwardly, I knew that the incoming administration of Yakubu will have a lot to do in the area of discipline and decorum. Having said that, we must not forget that the Bar Association does not exist in a vacuum. It is a product of the socio-cultural background within which we are living, a cultural milieu now. And when you look at the society at large, it will take angels to behave differently. We are all Nigerians. You know what is going on in the country. Everybody is impatient now. You put people in position, they go there and personalize things. Even at the federal, state level, local government level, look at what is happening. It's as if everybody has resolved to take as much as they could from the system, willy-nilly, regardless of whose oxes are God. You understand? So that and lawyers also belong to this society. People see themselves as victims, trying to get something back, you understand, from those in charge. That is the mentality of the Nigerian man today. They see government as cheating them. They see society as being unfair to them. The state governors, they see them as oppressors. Even the legislature, those who are sent there to go and make laws, people now look at them with suspicion. They are only going there to fend for themselves. They are not minding the society over whom they are presiding, legislating, passing laws.
So how would wise...
Now, that is the socio-cultural milieu that the NBA, you know, belongs. So to expect them to behave differently, I'm sorry to say this, but these are facts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. To expect them to behave differently, we'll be expecting them to behave like angels. They are also influenced by what is going on in the society. If you have a bar association that is not accountable, that is not transparent, the tendency is that people will want to probe deeper and then take laws into their hands to get what they think is their due.
Right. So, sir, are you saying that it's a hopeless situation? We used to always blame the legislation and say they are politicians, and that's how politicians behave. But the judiciary, the lawyers, and, you know, are we saying it's hopeless? Because we thought that if...
It is not that hopeless.
Okay.
You see, the Bar Association has a lot to do in restoring confidence in the system. In those days when you put a lawyer in a place, you think decorum will be the order of the day. So you can go home to rest, assured that things will go on smoothly. But I told you, this is a different cultural milieu within which we are operating. And the Bar Association itself is influenced by society. So the incoming administration has a lot to do to reassure the public that we have not lost the ethos, we have not lost the ethics of the profession.
Talking about the ethics of the profession, so let me go to the ethics of the profession, because many people believe that lawyers are part of our problem because they always introduce all sorts of technicalities when it comes to cases against politicians. You know, they'll find one thing, because you expect that if the politicians are doing their own, the legislature is doing their own, deal with the executive, the judiciary would at least understand, like, with this person stole money, and we can have evidence to convict him. But no, they will add one thing, one technicality to get this man to only spend maybe 3 months, 1 year in jail. And he walks free afterwards. And are you not part of the problem?
The tendency is to see us as part of the problem. But you see, when you look at jurisprudence, as I've told you, the system is what the society has made it. You see, when a judge behaves awkwardly, let me put it that way, you understand? You look deeper. You should not look at the effect. You should rather look at the cause. But Nigerians, most of the time, instead of addressing the cause of an event, we look at the outcome of the event. You understand? The outcome, you know, something has happened. There is a causation.
Yeah.
You understand? There is an effect. Instead of addressing the causation, you look at the effect and start addressing it. We have to reform this society. The Nigerian society is in decay. Not only the judges, not only the lawyers. How about the military? What do you want to talk about the military? People who are sent into the field to go and tackle Boko Haram. They get Boko Haram, compromise with them, rehabilitate them, put them on salary. Many of them recruited back into the force. What do you say about that? So the entire society has to be reformed. And this is also where the politicians have a very, very humanly function to perform. Look, for some time, put aside the monetary aspect of what you are doing. Look at this society. You see, my feeling is that everything is cannibalized, so to say. Even government itself is cannibalized. From the federal to the states, go and look at what is happening. Everything is upside down. So everybody is just trying to make ends meet, looking for where to cash in and cash out.
One of the professions that, you know, is treated with nobility and class is the legal profession, because they sort of are those who form society. So the profession is not pretending not to say that there will be things like this. So they have some disciplinary measures that are being created.
We do.
My colleague mentioned the Ojo investigation. Somebody had to ask him to step aside from the body of benchers so that this investigation will be clean, transparent, and free of any bias.
Yes.
You know, so sometimes must we? Why can't we use the machinery on ground? Why are those machineries not being deployed right now? For instance, this vandalism that happened at the NBA conference. We had videos. I remember the past outgoing NBA president saying that, you know, they have video capturing of some of the people who were involved in this. Can we make scapegoats of this? Can we use the machinery on ground?
You see, that is a sociological problem, as I've told you, that is not limited to lawyers alone. You ask a bencher to step aside. That is in conformity with the rule of law. a member of the benchers has been accused of an offense that ultimately may be brought before the body of benchers, the first thing you do is to ask him to set aside. So that is in conformity with our practice. They have satisfied the rules of engagement on that one. You cannot be a judge in your own cause.
But he refused to step aside.
Why did he even have to be asked?
Yeah,
Yes,
he doesn't need to be asked. But he believed in the innocence of his own cause, too. That you do not adjudge a man guilty until he's heard. They should have heard from him. You understand? I was part of the Salami Must Go thing, Brouhaha, a lot of years ago, as an outcome of what happened in Osun State. You understand? You are the leader of the NJC. You are a judge of the Court of Appeal. You now have a series of allegations against you. The first thing you should do is to step aside so that whoever is watching the investigation, whoever was watching the proceedings going on will say, no, this is unconnected with his office.
Exactly.
You give credibility to the system that way.
Yes.
That is what they are asking my learned senior, Barrister Olanikwekun, to do. You understand? And many of us share that with those who ask him to step aside. What for? At the end of the day, the man will be absolved. It's somebody we could all vouch for. But the system must be obeyed.
Exactly.
The rules must be obeyed. Step aside for a while. These people will come back and say, yes, we investigated all these things. We could not find anything against this man. And he will be reinstated. They are not expelling him. They are asking him to step aside. But you see, there are always two sides to a coin. You must never condemn a man unheard. Oh, he's been asked to step aside. Oh, that means he's guilty. No, that is not the approach. Even when God knew that Adam and Eve had committed this sin, he called Adam and said, what have you done? He still listened to him before condemning him.
Yeah.
That is the way.
What about the conduct of lawyers and checking using the machinery that we have?
Yes, I told you earlier on that the lawyers using the machinery are also products of the society. Everybody is taking advantage of the system because of the weak leadership, the unethical leadership that we have at all levels. You understand? People are taking advantage of it, and you cannot ask lawyers to behave differently. You understand? When everybody is going for the cash. That is the problem. But you see, a responsible bar association will still insist discipline in its followers because they see the bar association as a conscience of the society. You understand? To bring in reforms, to curtail some of these excesses. And when gold rots, what do you expect other metals to do? That is why we must all join hands with the new executive coming in to make sure that they bring in discipline to bear. And they should not fear anybody who is found guilty of doing anything or behaving unethically.
Let me get a few more questions for you. Yes.
Okay, sir. Yeah. We are already talking about politics, the general elections coming in 2023, and we have seen many cases of people, lawyers defending politicians who are unpopular in their areas, but because of technicalities have found a way to install them in those offices. Even to the and there's huge outcry, but the court is the court. And you have been known to also be, play your part and your role in politics as well, especially in Osun State. So in what ways do you think your learned colleagues and yourself and the profession can do better to safeguard our democracy?
Thank you. That is a challenge for my colleagues at the bar. If we really want to save the reputation of this profession, we must behave to type. We must not join the bandwagon of strictly for cash. People who take cases just because of the money. There must be ethics in what we are doing. You must not be seen promoting what the society believes is wrong. You understand? And the Bar Association is there to call its members to order, where there are petitions, where there are complaints. let me tell you that if you suspect any lawyer of any misdoing, the Bar Association is free to entertain your complaint. But the problem is that even the society itself no longer believe in complaining. They no longer believe in petitioning. They only believe in this media trial. Oh, Arawanoni, he has taken money. If he's a judge, he has taken bribe. They just condemn, they condemn wholesale without even listening to the other side, as I've said. So it is the responsibility of this present Bar Association to call such lawyers, you understand, to order. Occasionally call them. We had this and this and this and what is going on. You know the implication on the reputation of the Nigerian Bar Association. Please, what is the situation? What has actually happened? Then, where in appropriate cases, make your findings known to the public. I respect a number of people in the bar for this kind of thing I'm advocating. People like Femi Falana, who was a year ahead of me at the University of Ife. You know, there are people who go extra mile to dig into the facts of a matter before taking a position. Those are the kind of people we need to pilot the affairs of the Bar Association. Not people who will just say, okay, crucify him. Others before had been crucified, so he also must be guilty, crucify him. But go deeper into the accusation, look into the complaints. That is audio-altering pattern. That is Nemo Judas in Kosasua. You do not condemn a man unheard. If he's a member of the Bar Association and is on your bench, ask him to step aside. If he's a body of bencher member, ask him to step aside so that you can probe deeper into the complaint. And
let me ask you, I actually have two questions. Let me ask one. As one of the top election petition lawyers in the country, do you agree that we should have special courts for elections?
It depends on what Nigerians want. I have respect for special courts because they make things speedier. They make things speedier. At a time in this country, we had the armed robbery and firearms tribunals. And to a large extent, it curtailed armed robbery. But democracy is a different kind of thing. All the courts must look alike. They must have the same rules. So the armed robbery tribunals went away. I'm not satisfied with that. If I have my way today, I will bring back the robbery and firearms tribunals. Not only against armed robbers, against kidnappers. Yes. What is the essence of taking kidnappers before a regular court, where you have series of cases, waiting judgment and trials? Set up special tribunals, special courts to look into these cases of kidnappers, banditry. You are caught red-handed, within 3 months, you are gone if you are found guilty. That is what deter people from committing crimes. If you know that you have a chance of staying 3, 4, 5 years before coming to trial, that is not deterrence in my humble view. Many kidnappers are there. They've been on the line for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years without justice, even after conviction. They are there. So those things do not serve the justice or the cause of justice well. So I advocate special courts. I'm in support of special courts. It makes, even in England, where we borrowed the Nigerian legal system, we have divisions of the courts. You have the probate division that look into into things of inheritance and matrimonial causes. You have the chancery that look into commercial cases. And I advocated this when I was practicing in Kano, that look, our high court rules should specify specific divisions for judges. It makes even their jobs faster and easier. If you know that you are sitting on the matrimonial causes for the next 1 year, you are abreast with all the cases. Yes. So understand? So if any matrimonial causes case come up, you don't need to go for further research. You already have them. So it makes, you can deliver judgment off the cuff. That is, without retiring into your chambers. Yeah. Deliver it and go away. If you have the chancery...
Can the NBA do this? change? Can the NBA make this?
The NBA can only make recommendations. Remember, they are not lawmakers. The National Assembly is there. The state assemblies are there. I spoke about the special courts. Believe me, a serious state should have done what I'm talking today. Set up armed robbery and firearm tribunals and see who will stop you on any ground. But you see, we are all easygoing people. Okay. They don't want... Yeah.
Ordinary death sentence.
You understand? Easygoing, I don't want to be seen as rocking the boat. Yeah. What is rocking the boat there? This is why I give kudos to Governor Akeredolu all the time. He doesn't take such seats because he is not only a lawyer, he's a senior advocate who happened to be in governance in Ondo State. He knows what we are talking about. But these governors are too indulgent of the federal authorities. Take your powers to you and then exercise it the way it will pave way for development of the society without minding who is offended in Abuja. You are not elected there to satisfy people in Abuja. You are elected, for goodness sake, to satisfy people within your state.
Okay. So, sir, the issue of, the NBA interviewing or inviting all presidential aspirants on all party platforms, this last conference, some people have questioned that. I would like to hear your take on, how proper it is and what the objective was. Was it achieved if there was an objective to that invitation?
Well, to some extent, I think it was achieved. Let me say that there is no problem about inviting people before the Bar Association conference to speak on specific issues. We are going into an election year. Most people have never seen these contestants before. They have never. Maybe they hear of Atiku in the media. They have never seen him, even including lawyers. People hear of Shettima. They have never seen him in flesh. So, coming to the Bar Association, Obi is a very popular person who had been governor in Anambra for 8 years. But how many people had seen him before? How many people have interacted with him? The Bar Conference offers you an avenue to showcase these people, and in return for them to interact with the elites of the society, which the Nigerian Bar Association represents, for questions to be asked, for clarifications to be made, for lasting impressions to be created. And believe me, look at somebody like Shettima. He did very, very well, apart from his dressing, which was another talk of the town. But you see, he made a lasting impression there. People see that he could even articulate eloquently in English, contrary to earlier belief that he was just one of those people there, the Boko Haram. Boko Haram, by the way, means Haram is book. That is, book is useless. Western education is pointless. It's useless. It should be discarded. But if that is the situation, here you have a Shettima coming out in flawless Queen English. You understand? Articulating views before the NBA. That washes him clean to some extent that he was not a ruffian all along. Look at somebody like Obi, with all his data, with all his computer knowledge and all that, dishing out figures and all that. People have never seen him like that before. Look at Atiku. Atiku was vice president for 8 years, and he has a lot of followership in the country. But how many people had interacted face-to-face with him? So the Bar Conference, to me, was a huge success in that respect. Okay. It's unfortunate that the success was marred by what ended the conference.
Yeah. I have a few more questions for you before I go, because I don't want to. We have a little time left. You're lawyer to Prince Dotun Babayemi, who is also contesting the elections on Tuesday, which many said was free and fair, contesting the election of the governor-elect, Adeleke. I'm trying to see how, do you think this is part of the issue we're having? Because in an election that everybody says is free and fair, why are you still challenging it in court? Must we have all these election petitions after elections?
Well, I must confess that I'm involved in everything that is happening in Osun politically. And believe me, what Prince Dr. Babayemi is doing has a backing of majority of the leaders in Osun. Don't forget that this was a pre-election matter.
Yes, ma'am.
The conflict started even before the elections came. Don't forget that the issues were, we have two aspirants claiming to be candidates of the party because there were parallel congresses. One was held at the stadium in Osogbo. The other was held at the Work Center, also in Osogbo. One was attended by an acting chairman. The other one had no chairman to preside over it. When you look at the constitution of the PDP at section 25 specifically, it tells you who presides on a state congress. The state congress is where the chairman presides to elect who becomes the flag bearer of the party in a governorship election. That is the major function. So without the chairman in situ, that is a chairman in place, you cannot have a state congress. Who will direct the affairs where there is no chairman? So those were the contending issues before the election, long before the elections came. You understand? Yeah. And then the matter was taken to the State High Court before the election came. The State High Court, in its wisdom, said, no, you have a correct number of delegates, but the venue where you heard the thing was wrong. Those at the stadium, they had the wrong delegates. And if you have the wrong delegates, it means you cannot even anoint anybody as candidate of the party. Mm-hmm. But because they said officials of the National Secretariat came there, their own is authentic. Even though they had no acting chairman, they had no chairman at all, who under the party constitution supposed to preside over the state congress. So the judge delivered the ruling, and I was in court physically. I listened to the thing. There were so many grounds of appeal. The judge even delved into areas that were not canvassed before him.
Sir, but this is,
you understand? So the matter was taken to the Court of Appeal. Don't forget, the issue is whose Congress was the authentic one. Yeah. Not about elections yet. Mm-hmm. You understand? So the Court of Appeal now look at what the judge of the Federal High Court said. You understand? Instead of the Court of Appeal to address the issues on merit, he struck out over 6 grounds of appeal, which would have resolved the thing one way or the other, without even looking into it at all. So it was on that premises that Prince Dr. Babayemi said he has not gotten justice.
This is about the technicalities that we're asking, that we're questioning. Because if we talk about what do the people want, who do the people want? Yeah. So who is presiding versus we have all come together to come and vote for who we want to represent us.
Yes.
Shouldn't that be weighed heavier than if somebody was presided or the venue they used? That's what they say. These are the technicalities we are saying lawyers are putting forward.
The question now is this. The national leaders of the party, the presidential candidate, Atiku, the vice presidential candidate, my Governor Okowa, came to Osun, called my leaders, majority of whom are in support of what Prince Dr. Babayemi is doing. Said, look, we don't want to dabble into these your legal issues, but for God's sake, go and vote for the party. Whoever wins in court takes the benefit. Don't allow this conflict, this legal disputation to affect the outcome of your election. We want to win Osun. Please, bury this litigation for the time being. Mobilize your people to go and vote. When the PDP wins, we will know who the rightful candidate is. And don't forget it has happened before.
The party.
Amechi was there. You know, when Umehia, you understand, was pushed forward as candidate. Amechi went to court. No, Umehia, it was never our candidate. I was the rightful candidate of the party. The matter went from High Court to Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. At the end of the day, the Supreme Court said, no, come. Amechi is the rightful candidate. Even though he did not paste one poster, but he was the rightful candidate. Wow. Umehia, after about 6-7 months in government, was asked to step aside.
Sir, let me come in here so that we don't lose all the time for the show. So just as you have given this precedent, there's a precedent now because the APC is also in court and they're suing. No,
the APC party. Is in tribunal.
You're at tribunal now, election tribunal now, suing the party and issues. The way you're giving precedent of what happened in River State back then before Amechi became
governor. That is the law.
There's a precedent of sorts that some people are relying on in the Biafra case, where the APC lost to the PDP. They are brought in Diri. They are brought in Diri.
Yes.
Do you see that happening at all in Oshun in these elections now in the tribunal?
As a lawyer, we don't normally comment on matters before the court. So I don't want to be seen as prejudging what the Supreme Court will say. You understand? But you see, the principle is this. The Supreme Court, and indeed all the courts, are there as neutral arbiters. You understand? They do not look at the effect of something. They just look at the facts and they give you the position of the law. You get it? So whether it is going to be the Diri outcome or the Amechi outcome does not concern the courts for the time being. Okay. The justice of the matter is what is before the court. Was the congresses held in Oshun, you understand, were they legal? That's the first point of view. The second thing is this, if both of them were not legal, or which one is legal between the two, they proclaim the outcome of the Congress as the winner of the Congress.
Okay, we have to wrap up, so I have to cut you off because there's a tweet here that is really important for me to say. Somebody said that, tell your guests to stop misinforming viewers that Boko Haram members are recruited into the Nigerian army. That's from, so because you had said that earlier, so I wanted you to be sure what you're saying, because say that information is wrong and you have a duty to correct him ASAP. So they say that they don't recruit Boko Haram members into the Nigerian army, because you had mentioned that earlier.
I'm happy that somebody, I don't know if it's an officer of the Nigerian army, but I'm sure that person is not hearing this allegation for the first time. He is not hearing this allegation for the first time. And even the armed forces, through their leaders, said they were integrating Boko Haram.
See why Danjuma suggested such also.
Yes, so it is too late in the day to start telling us that we should retract. You should have asked that question and correct these things long ago. And don't forget that retired Major General Danjuma said something in that light that, look, you guys are collaborating. You are collaborating with terrorists and bandits. You are covering them. You are showing them data. You are doing this for them. You are doing that for them. It's too late in the day for this kind of side wind. I'm not bothered by it at all.
That's all we can take, sir. Thank you very much. The show has finished. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on the show today to educate us.
You're welcome.